So welcome, beautiful people, future me, to another round, to round number 4 of this stream. You can add learning Java and to header bar. Oh, thank you. I always forget about that. Learning Java and Spring. Thank you. I kind of feel that no one reads it. Someone do. Someone does. You did. So that proves otherwise. You see the date? Yeah, it's like on top in here. There's like the time for which I stream, and here I set like, some text. Pum pum pum. Yeah, I kind of get derailed. So we will be we are doing Spring today, as you can see over there, thanks to Swarm Collective, all of them. And we will try to improve my typing. So the main metric is the unproductive keystroke overhead, which I try to push down. So let's do it. Oh, damn it. Come on. How was your day? Oh, it was okay. I did some coding, and my viewers changed my background to shitting donkey. They what? Oh yes, I was staring at a shitting donkey the entire time. Okay. Oh, no, no, no. That was, all right. If you will have to, it was nice to having you here. Thank you for visiting and shit. Yeah, implying the donkey shit. And if you will have to go, I will probably give you back the points, you know, for the power mode. So you can use it next time, right? So you could be here while that is happening. So I will give it back to you. Okay. So here it is. You have your points back. Oh, okay. So now you can hear. So yeah, I was saying thank you, and you said that you are going, right? So I did gave you back your points because you will probably not be here for the PowerPoint. Not PowerPoint, power, you know, power mode. And yeah, bye bye. Nice having you here. 534 is the score. Oh, it's the exactly same score as I had the last time. Okay, so that is pretty nice. You know, like I'm below like even the average for the last 7 and for the last 3 days. And you can see like the tendency, you know, like the average was like 7. When I all-time average when I started it was around like 10. So it's nice to well, like push it down. It's like this actually might be the best thing I built ever because it's really like shows me that I actually am progressing and it's like motivating. That's nice. Yeah. Okay, so that concludes the typing session and we proceed to the tutorial, right?
And obviously we could use something like
so this is getter and setters.
Remove all of this
we did
code.
that.
There we go. And finally toString.
toString, okay. From all of those, right?
String, and then okay. And there you have it. So now we have a class called student. So what I'm going to do now is open up demo application, and instead of a list of string, I'm going to say list of, and then student.
Okay. Student. That, yes.
Now what? In here, what I'm going to do is on a new line, I'm going to delete that and then say new, and then student. And let's pass the ID of 1 and then name Mariam.
Okay, so we'll fill something in. one. The rest of the parameters string. Oh, hold on, I have in different order than he does, so we will do name, small collective, email, yes, at no.com, local date, local date now, integer age 1. Now, what is the next thing? Age, long ID, we don't. Oh, there's more constructors, right? So I was maybe using the wrong one. And it's so hard to see. So I could have a ID, name. Well, this should have like only like the ID extra, right?
And this has to be 1L because it's long.
Okay. It doesn't complain in here. For some reason. If I go to definition. Oh. What?
There we go. And
So that's the ID.
1L because it's long.
Okay. So I'll change that. I'll change that. So 1L.
There we go. And here let's have Mariam dot and then Jamal at gmail.com, comma, and we also need to pass the date of birth, so local, and then date, and then dot, and then of, and if I put this full screen, there we go. And here let's pass the first what year, so let's say that she was born in 2000.
Huh.
And then
Interesting. You can do off. Off. So, and what do we want? Year 2000. Well, we do 9084. That was the number which I saw in chat. Month. Let's do 6. Day of the month 13 or 16. 16 is good too. Okay.
the month, so let's say that she's from January, and then the date, let's say the 5th of January. Yes, sir.
Oh, he's doing months differently. So April was good. Okay.
Like that, and then comma, and then here let's just simply say 21. We can actually subtract this, so subtract now minus the date of birth, but we'll do that in a second. So now let's go ahead and start the server. And by the way, you see that we have ID column, name column, email column. Don't add these because these are added by IntelliJ. Again, don't add these. So if I open up my web browser now, and then here, remember before we had this list, if I reload the page, you can see that now we have an.
Okay, so let's see. Also, there was a thing I think which you could do, like Alt Enter and put, yeah, here it is, put arguments on separate lines, which is nice. For the donkey, I think I will, because it has a white background, we'll tone down it a little bit. Okay, so it's so I can see better. That's so ridiculous. Yeah, and we will reload the application. It's running, so we'll have a look in here. And I wonder which plugin does he have? Can we tell? Something like Chrome JSON formatter, yeah, why not? This looks like the thing he has. Blue, strings are green. Yeah, that would be probably it. So we'll add it. Oh, I have it here already. Maybe it's turned off. JSON. I don't see it. Okay, so manage extensions. Did I disable it? Oh, JSON. I have more JSON views. Okay, so we'll try that. Turn it on. Now here's the thing. Reload. And okay, cool. Very nice. Does he have the view source there as well? Oh, I don't have to have exactly the same thing as he do, right?
Objects. So our class was converted into a JSON object right here. And
it works. Okay, so we have that.
And we have an array surrounded by. So this.
Yep, we do have the same.
It's really awesome. You can see how easy it is for us to start building APIs with Spring Boot. Right, so we have this class right here, and we also expose an endpoint that returns an array of students. Now is the perfect time for us to get things done in the proper way. So we want to structure our application into this N-tier architecture where we have the API layer, service layer, and then data access. So we already have the class student. Let's go ahead and create a class that will serve as the API layer. So open up IntelliJ, and right here I'm going to collapse this, expand project, and inside of student, so everything will be inside of student. So create a new class, and here call it student, and then controller. There we go. So now we have this
student controller, okay.
class, which will have all of the resources for our API. So here, remember before, if I open up demo application, we had this annotation right here, so REST controller. So what we're gonna do is remove it from here, and let's also take this get mapping. So I'm gonna cut this. So this class right here now should be
okay. Delete this and this.
Empty right here. So empty class, and let me remove all of those imports just like that, and you can see the keyboard shortcut.
Okay.
Now let's go back to our student controller right here. And here we're going to annotate with @ and then REST controller. And
okay. Yep. What now?
Then what we also want is to say that this will have a request and then mapping in here. And we can pass a couple things. So one is the path here, and the path will be API and then v1, so version 1 of our API / and then student. So instead of going to localhost 8080, we now want localhost 8080.
So REST control, request mapping. REST mapping and path, and that was API version 1, right? Student.
API / v1 and student. Let's also paste the get mapping that we had before here.
Okay. We have this here.
So put this full screen. But now instead of hello, I'm going to say get and then students. So now we have
get student. Okay.
a get map
Students.
for our student controller. So let's start the application. There we go. If I open up my web browser, and right here, remember before we had localhost 8080. So if I try and hit this endpoint, this should not work.
Okay, cool. So first of all, I will rerun it. This is too big. So okay, and now we will do that, and it was API v1 students. No? Did I fuck something up?
Browser, and right here, remember before we had localhost 8080. So if I try and hit this endpoint, this should not work. But now we've changed it to /API /v1 and then /student. Enter. And
Okay, so what's wrong here? API v1 students. Oh, I see. It's student. And I said students. Okay, so now it works. Okay.
and check this out. So you see now we have the API working, but now things are much more organized. Next, let's go ahead and create a class that will serve as the business logic for managing students. Right, so we have our API layer right here. Now the API layer should talk to the service layer to get some data, and that service layer should also...
So the API layer is now our student controller. Okay. Okay.
So talk to the data access layer to get the data so that it does a round trip like this, right? From the client, API, service, data, and then all the way back. So now let's move this, so this method here, to the service layer. So service layer is mainly responsible for business logic. So here, open up the project tab, and then here we're going to create a new class, and then call it student, and then service.
Student service, okay.
There we go. And what we're going to do is, so here, we're going to take this method. So let's take this method and then put it inside of the service. So just like that. And now we can go back to controller. And here, so this will no longer be like that. And instead we have to use the method inside of our student service.
Okay. So we go that, we put it in here. Okay, then we delete those things from the controller, which, oh, come on, really goes.
So here, let's have a reference, so private, and then final, student, and then service, student service, just.
Okay. What's the problem? Might not have initialized.
Just like that. And let's add it to the constructor. So let me put this full screen. There we go. And now I can say return and then student service dot get students. So this now is a much better approach, and we are using the n-tier design pattern. So if I go back,
Code not auto-wire, no beans. Still what? That and this here says could not out. Oh, is it because you donkey did put it behind that?
To project, or actually open a project and then student service, you can see that now it's being used. But ideally, so this currently is a static list. We also want this to come from a database, but we're going to worry about that in a second. Next, let me go ahead and teach you about some annotations and dependency injection within Spring and Spring Boot. Alright, so far we have 3 classes, and within the student controller in here, so let me just put this like this, you can see that we are having a reference to student service. And then here we pass it inside of the controller. Now, this is not going to work because we don't have an instance of student service. Now, the way that this would work is if I was to say equals to new and then student service, just like that, and now this will work, right? But when writing code, we should avoid stuff like this and use dependency injection as much as possible. So how do we tell that this student service should be injected into this constructor right here, or anything that we pass into this constructor should be injected? Well, we have this annotation called at, and then auto, and then wired. Now, we are saying that this student service should be auto-wired for us. So this will be magically instantiated for us, and then injected into this constructor, and then all of this will work.
Still kind of red. I will import this. This is still red.
But now we have to also tell that this student service is a class that has to be instantiated, i.e. it has to be a Spring bean. So to tell that this is a bean, we can use this class, or actually we can use this annotation called add and then component. Now if I go back to...
Okay. Component and... oh, come on. Then when I go here, it's no longer red. Okay, cool. I don't like this is inlined.
Okay. Controller. You can see that this red arrow went away because now it knows where to find this bean right here. So if I go back once more, you see that I'm using add component.
So component. So I set auto wired where it should be injected, and I set component to register the thing which could be injected.
But with Spring, we have annotations that allow us to be more specific. So here, we don't want this to be just a regular component, but we want this to be a service. So add service, add component, they're the exact same thing, but this is more for semantics, right? This is more for readability. Looking at this, you know that this class is...
Wait, what?
Being right here. So if I go back once more, you see that I'm using add component, but with Spring, we have annotations that allows us to be more specific. So here, we don't want this to be just a regular component, but we want this to be a service. So add service, add component.
Okay. Still works, right? What is the difference between service and component?
Thing, but this is more for semantics, right? This is more for readability. Looking at this, you know that this class is meant to be a service class. So the same way that you saw in here, for this controller, we use the add and then rest controller. For the service, we use add and then service. Now let's restart the server and then go back to my web browser.
So that one is running and it still works. Yay.
And here I'm going to refresh this, and you can see that still works. So now we are using dependency injection, and we've actually split things into layers. So we have the API layer talking successfully to the service layer, and the service layer is giving back some data back to the API layer. Next, let's focus on the data access by connecting to a real database, and then store the student inside of the database and then get it back out. If you have any questions, go ahead and let me know. Otherwise, let's move on. Alright, now let's go ahead and connect to a real database. So we've got the API layer, service layer. Now let's focus on this data access layer. For this course, let me go ahead and steal some code from my Spring Data JPA course, and in this course you'll learn everything that you need to know about Spring Data JPA. So we cover what is Spring Data JPA, how to connect to real databases, how to map classes to tables, the entity lifecycle, queries, paging, sorting, one-to-one relationships, one-to-many, many-to-many transactions, and a lot more. So in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go inside of src, and then resources, and then application.properties, and I'm going to grab all of this. So right here, again, I'm going to leave this in the description of this video so you can follow along. Now I'm going to go back to IntelliJ, and
Okay. Spring JPA. Where's the GitHub thing? Enroll course for $30. No, thank you. Wait, what? Siri Olsen started following you. Dark theme enthusiast. Okay, so Amigas. Looks like lots of guys, which users. Community projects. No. That looks about right. Repositories. JPA, there we go. But we are out of the time. So, which concludes our session. I still want to eat, so I watch some coding videos and then I go sleep, I guess. Okay, this concludes the round number 4.